Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Charlie, no say boy I'm making. And before we start, huge announcement. Go and check out a new What If I just posted. What if Naruto was trained to be a mercenary? It's right under this one. I did it about an hour ago. And yeah, go enjoy. And now I'm going to be giving you a new What If again. What if Tsunade was Naruto's mother? Part 1. Get this one to 100 likes as usual. Remember to share to all of your friends on your social media platform. Turn on that bell notification stay posted, and yeah guys, remember to go and check out my second channel. I'll be leaving a link at the top of the description for Anime King 2 where I'll be posting What If later on guys. So make sure to go and check it out, and if you haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Click that red subscribe button and join both of the channels. And yeah, stay tuned for your enjoyment, and let's get straight into it. Start the intro. So we start this episode with Minato and Jiraiya. Minato is in his mid-20s. Minato has already got in the position of Hokage. Him and Jiraiya are walking back to the Leaf. After signing a treaty with the Sand, the fourth Kazekage was alive. Usually, they should be surrounded by a group of envoys making their trip back to the Leaf. But because both of them are at cage level, it would be stupid to mess with them. Well Minato, at least we made it to Tansigagai. This is a small village on their way back to Konoha since the sun was setting. So, I guess we don't have to sleep on the forest floor tonight, Jiraiya said jokingly as he nudged Minato in his side. Minato let out a small chuckle. I suppose you're right, he replied. But, you can just swift to the village anytime you want, don't you? Jiraiya asked him. As Minato put his hand on the back of his head. Oh yeah, with the Flying God Thunder technique. But, I'd rather take my time going back. Only thing I'm going back there to do is sign a bunch of paperwork. Celebrating a new alliance by checking into a hotel and going into a bar sound perfect, doesn't it? Jiraiya asked. As Minato nodded, he really needed a break. Now you're talking, Jiraiya said in happiness. Saki sound perfect at the moment. Soon enough, the both ninjas arrived at a hotel where they booked a room. After that, they found a nice perfect bar nearby where they met up with a familiar face enjoying her own free time. Jiraiya's eyes lit up when he recognized who it was. Oh, it's been a while. I wasn't expecting to see you here tonight. The woman that Jiraiya called out to was none other than Tsunade, the Slug Princess, and the only female of the Sannin. And with that, she was the granddaughter of the first Hokage, the grandniece of the second Hokage. When Tsunade turned to see who called out to her, she expected to see a debt collector because she owed a lot of money because of her gambling addiction. But she turned to see her old teammate with the new Hokage of Konoha, Minato Namikaze. Jiraiya? Minato? What are you two doing here? Asked Nade as she set her drink down. Minato and I just arrived in town just a little while ago. We just negotiated an alliance between the Sand and Konoha, replied Jiraiya with a smile. Oh, so I take it that the discussions went well since you're here to celebrate? Tsunade asked them. Yeah, it went fine, but it was a bit hard because of the Kazekage. He tried to make the alliance favor the Sand more, and I want it to be equal. It also didn't help that he made several remarks about Konoha being too soft and weak. Minato responded with a frown. He didn't like the fourth Kazekage much. He found him to be a rather cold and uncaring individual, especially the way he ignored or passed off his pregnant wife and his 3-year-old daughter and his 2-year-old son like they meant nothing to him. It was at this point that Minato noticed the young teenage girl who was sitting next to Tsunade. The girl looked to be about 15 and was holding a little piglet in her arms. Her name was Shizune, Tsunade's apprentice and the niece of Tsunade's late lover, Dawn, a renowned shinobi of Konoha. When Minato saw her, he greeted her kindly, causing red marks on her cheeks. She quickly tried to shake it off as she bowed and greeted him respectfully and referred to him as Hokage. Minato told her that he is not in the office and she can just call him Minato. They were not in Konoha and he wasn't in the mood to be businesslike. This only caused Shizune to blush deeper, to be able to call probably the strongest ninja alive in such a familiar way. Minato and Jiraiya went to sit down as Minato sit between Jiraiya and Tsunade. Tsunade then continued the conversation. So, who's looking after the village like while you're away? Please tell me that you didn't leave the village here in those old fossils, Koharu, Homura, and Danzo, or anyone else on the council, she asked. She never did like those old farts. Nah, we left some of the senseis in charge until we get back, said Jiraiya. She then turned her attention to Minato. So Minato, how is life being a Hokage? She asked before taking a sip of her sake. Hard, especially with all of the paperwork that I had to do, and all the meetings I have to attend with the council. It doesn't leave me any time for a social life either, Minato replied as he took a sip of the alcoholic drink that he just ordered. What about that cute, red-headed little girl from the Anvu? The one you were seeing? What's her name again? Oh yeah, Kushina, Jiraiya said as he wanted Minato to have a personal life. Other than being in the office all day signing papers, it kind of didn't work out. I wanted to start a family with her, but 2 years ago she told me that she wanted to focus more on her ninja career, Minato said with a heavy sigh. Sorry to hear that, Jiraiya said regretfully. He personally thought they were doing well, but sometimes it wasn't meant to be. Minato just brushed Jiraiya off, saying that it was okay and he was over her anyway. So, said the tipsy Tsunade, I guess that means that you're back on the market. For all those women out there who want to be the next Miss Namikaze, she said with a smirk. I guess you could say that. And would you be amongst those ladies, Tsunade? Asked Minato with a small playful smirk as he took another sip of his drink. Ha, you wish, brat, Tsunade said as she laughed out, as she took another large sip from her drink before refilling it. Over the next 4 hours, the three talk about lots of different topics, switching back and forth of what came in their mind about Konoha and the general world around them. Not much of what was discussed would be remembered due to everyone's mental state as they were drinking about lots of alcohol drink last night. The alcohol intake between all of them except Shizune was very high. After about 2 hours, Shizune told Tsunade that she's going to turn in for the night, and Tsunade told her that she would stay here for a little longer. As she left the bar's doors, she could only hope that the three will behave themselves. Just past the 4-hour mark, Jiraiya had passed out with drool leaking from his mouth on the counter bar. Tsunade and Minato kept talking with each other and easily ignored the Toad Sage snoring and drooling. As they talk, they continue to drink more of their sake as a 2 kg level, starting to flirt with each other because of their rum intake. You know, Tsunade, I had a big crush on you when I was a genin, Minato said with a smile on his face. Tsunade snickered slightly, with an immediate hiccup following. Well, I am honored, Minato, she replied. The two continued to flirt back and forth until Tsunade said, maybe we can have our own little party back at my room to celebrate the alliance between Konoha and the Sun. Lead the way, said Minato, as the both of them headed to Tsunade's hotel room, leaving Jiraiya there passed out. The two then reached Tsunade's room. As they entered, soon as the door was closed, because the both of them are so drunk, they began to stare at each other. Then they start to rip off each other's clothes as they start to go at it with lots of passion. And they went at it for most of the night. The next morning, inside of Tsunade's room, Tsunade slowly woke up with a groan due to the massive hangover she had. And the light blaring from the sun didn't make it any better. As she turned over on the bed and faced away from the window. Oh my head. What happened last night, she said. Oh yeah, I went celebrating with Jiraiya and Minato, she thought. After a second, she froze, noticing that someone was beside her. She didn't look who it was, but she lifted up the sheet, realizing that she was completely naked. As she thought that it was Jiraiya, thinking that she got so drunk last night she didn't remember what she did. She slowly turned her head, but she was even more surprised when she saw the blonde hair as she screamed out very loudly as she jumped out of the bed and pulled the bed covers to cover herself. As soon as she pulled the blanket, the man rolled off and dropped off of the bed as he crashed onto the floor, causing him to grunt in pain as he was now fully awake. After a moment, he got up, holding his head from the painful hangover, as he then turned and stared at the woman. Realizing that Tsunade was right in front of him. "Minato?" Tsunade shouted out. Minato cringed at Tsunade's loud voice. She was increasing the throbbing headache he was having. He then realized that she had a shocked expression on her face. "Tsunade, what are you doing in my room?" he said with a blank face. "Your room? This is my room, you idiot. I should be asking you that. Not to mention, why are you naked in my bed?" she said. As Minato then looked down, as she was telling the truth, he was completely naked as well. As she pointed at him angrily with a shaking finger. Did we? Minato's face then turned bright as he grabbed a pillow and pulled it over him. "What happened last night? The last thing I remember was the both of us drinking and Sensei passed out," Minato said, as he tried to think of what happened last night. "The last thing I remember," Tsunade said, as she tried to remember as well, but her head was throbbing. Then she started to get back the memories of the flashbacks running through her head, making her go bright red as she was embarrassed as she looked over at Minato. Weirdly enough, Minato watched Tsunade's face turn various shapes of red as he too started to remember what they did last night, causing him to blush brightly than what he did before, as if that was even possible. Quickly enough, an angry Tsunade focused on Minato as she pointed at him. "You bastard! You took advantage of me. I was drunk and I couldn't think straight." "Me?" Minato said as he broke out of his embarrassment. "I wasn't the one who was flirting like a fangirl at the bar last night," he said to her. "You were the one who started all of this. Don't you dare try and blame me. You admitted yourself that you had a thing for me in your genuine days last night. So that is why you decided to take advantage of me when I was vulnerable. Hey now, I wasn't the one who invited me into your room. It was all your idea to come here. So if there's anyone who take advantage, it was you who take advantage of me." You had your way with me like some doctor and patient. Role play in the bed sheets. Against my will, said Minato. For the next 10 minutes, the two continued to put the blame on each other. But they then agreed that it was both of their faults. The both of them then quickly got dressed and decided that they will keep a secret and tell no one what happened between the two, especially not Jiraiya. If Jiraiya ever found out, he would never let the both of them live this down, and it would most likely become an inspiration for his next book. After a few minutes, Minato left Tsunade's room and decided to head back to his on the lower floor, and he hoped that Jiraiya hadn't woke up yet. That is, if Jiraiya even made it back to his room anyway, because he was so drunk last night, he passed out on the bar. Just as he was about to open his door, a voice cried out, "Hey Minato!" When Minato turned around, he saw his sensei coming towards him. "Glad to see that you're still up. I thought you would be still sleeping after all the fun that you had last night. You were coming to look for me," Jiraiya said, as he looked at Minato. "Oh yeah, sensei, that's right. I was coming to look for you," Minato said nervously as he sighed. And he was glad that Jiraiya didn't make it back last night to see that he was absent from their sharing room. "What happened last night?" Jiraiya said. "I was thrown out of the bar. I woke up on the street just a couple of minutes ago. So, tell me why that you didn't bring me back to our room last night," Jiraiya asked Minato. "Well, you see, the thing was, Minato started to shuffle around nervously as he didn't know how to make up a quick excuse. It was at this time that Jiraiya detected a certain scent coming from Minato. "Minato, what is that smell coming from you?" Jiraiya closed in, making Minato uncomfortable. "What is that perfume?" he asked. Minato began to get even more nervous as he cursed himself for not showering. He knew that if Jiraiya figured out the smell, that it was Tsunade's perfume, he would quickly pick up on the fact that the both of them had did something last night, and then his mind would quickly turn perverted, and Minato had a look on his face that he couldn't hide it. So Minato didn't know what to do. He wanted to get out of here because Jiraiya was getting closer and closer to the truth, and if he ever figured out that this was Tsunade's perfume, and he knew that Tsunade will kill him if he ever made Jiraiya found out. Jiraiya then get a perverted smirk on his face as he looked at Minato. "Listen, sensei, I can explain," Minato said as he tried to dig up anything to get him out of this situation. "What's there to explain? You got lucky with some hot young lady from the bar last night, right brat?" Jiraiya said as a smile continued to grow on his face. Minato sighed in his mind that he was glad that Jiraiya didn't recognize Tsunade's perfume. "Come on Minato, you can't tell me that I'm wrong. I can literally smell the perfume coming off of your clothes. That is a win for you. Why are you hiding it? Is it someone I know?" Jiraiya asked him. Oh, no one you know. It's just a random girl." "So you did hook up with a girl. I am proud of you," said Jiraiya. "Normal girl? Well, who is she?" Jiraiya still wanted to know as Minato scratched the back of his head nervously. "Was it that hot barmaid who winked at you while she was serving our drinks? Or was it one of those young ladies who smiled at you when you got up to go to the bathroom?" Jiraiya asked him as he was curious who it was. "Come on, you can tell me," Jiraiya said as he came in closer staring at Minato. "I want some details for my new book," he said. "Yeah, you're right sensei, I did hook up with someone." As Minato trying to buy some time, trying to get out of the situation. "So, are you going to tell me about it and tell me who it is? I want some notes for my new book," Jiraiya said, keep asking Minato questions over and over, as he kept nudging Minato even more and more, hoping to get some information, as he kept grinning like the pervert who he was. Minato then changed the subject. "Maybe later, sensei. We need to get going. If you want to reach at Konoha before nightfall. Minato took the initiative by heading to the stairs, with Jiraiya quickly followed him. As they walked down the steps, Jiraiya followed closely behind him, trying to get any juicy information. "Come on, brat. You gotta give me something. Was she blonde, brunette, a redhead? What was she? Was she a moaner, a screamer?" Jiraiya pleaded for information as Minato kept on ignoring him as they headed off. 1 month later, Tsunade was lying down on a bed in a hotel that she and Shizune had stayed in for a while, with Shizune using a medical jutsu to run a medical jutsu over Tsunade. Her hand was rested above Tsunade's stomach as she was sending small pulse of chakra to examine anything abnormal, because Tsunade has been feeling sick for some time now. After Shizune finished her scan on Tsunade, she confirmed what Tsunade believed when she realized that she missed her period. She was pregnant. Tsunade quickly got off the bed as she quickly started to pack her clothes. "When I find that bastard, I'm going to kill him," Tsunade said over and over in her mind. "Shizune, get ready to leave. We're heading to Konoha." Shizune was shocked. It wasn't the way that Tsunade spoke, but it was the way that they said that she was going to Konoha. So that means that the kid father must be in Konoha. Who was he? Shizune thought. But guys, I'm gonna be ending this episode right here. If you want to see the next part of this, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications they posted. And remember to share to all of your friends on your social media platform. But I'm out for now, guys. Peace.